This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. For the month of April 2018, Mountain Glass has their Boros sale going. Pyrex rod and tube at 45% off. Just put in the coupon code PYREX, P-Y-R-E-X at checkout. And for all you beautiful soft glass nerds, they have their soft glass double helix rod 15% off sale. All you have to do is put in the coupon code DHelix at checkout. Again, Pyrex rod and tube 45% off. Use coupon code PYREX. And soft glass sale double helix rod 15% off. Just put in the coupon code DHelix. And anybody out there that makes pencil dabbers that are out there in the pipe community, I came across a pencil the other day that I went to go repair, and it was made of soft glass. So something to think about when you're making pencil dabbers or any kind of other dabbers out there for tools. It's not a bad idea to try to use a little bit cheaper material where the soft glass rods are really affordable in terms of mass high production items. The glass isn't always necessarily as durable per se as Pyrex, but for a really good utility item, it's not a bad idea. Just a little something to put that out there for you. So until next time, again, go to mountainglass.com for any other comments, questions, or concerns. That's mountainglass.com. Hey, welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 190, and this is the real 190. My last episode with Pedro was 189, and I stated it was 190, and instead of having to go back there and change it out, I'm just going to have two that say 190, but this is the officially real 190 here. We got 10 episodes away from 200, if we all can do some math there, which I can do sometimes. Well, Jesus. Super excited, though, man. 190, I can't believe it. And just before I get into this, I got to say, starting off is just thank you for all the listens, downloads, emails, reviews, anything and everything that you have done for this show and for our community. It's just awesome. I love it, and I can't believe I'm here at 190. It's just amazing. Especially to all the sponsors. I mean, just anybody and everybody who has helped out this podcast over like the last now 4 seasons. It's just, I feel blessed to be doing this every week, and something I love doing. And yeah, I'm not gonna ramble on about it, but just understand that I am very grateful for being able to stand here and behind my mic and record here in my underwear. I just kind of paint a picture for you. But the fact that I can do this and have a voice in the community, as well as have a platform for other artists to come on and share their voice as well, it's definitely a pretty amazing thing I have going on here. I love it, and couldn't be happier. Here we are at 190. And that being said, this week's guest is a guest I have been trending on the show for a couple of years now, and someone I have been following and have been a super huge fan of, which is LaceFace. Lacey has gone through some pretty big changes in her life over the last 2 years, and she recently got back in touch with me after reaching out to her just to say hey, and also to update me on what's been going on with her, and here we are. So this episode was actually really an amazing interview, not only because I've been wanting to get her on the show for, like I said, a couple of years now. I've been a huge fan of her work as well. The femininity that she has of it, and also the details and the amount of work that I understand that she puts into her glass. It's incredible. And in this interview, she was really transparent about a lot of what's been going on since day one in her career, being introduced into the pipe community and growing up in it, really, and also a second-generation pipe maker, which is really as new as this community is in this industry, it's kind of unheard of in a sense. And today there are second-generation glass blowers out there. There's actually a lot of them now whose fathers and mothers were early pioneers in the industry. And Lacey is now second generation. Potentially now, if you guys listen to this through all the way through, you'll find out that she may have a third generation glassblower now in her life. And just a super fun conversation. Again, she really shared a lot of behind the scenes stuff. We got into degenerate art. We got into her first champs competition, what it was like to be a female competitor in this world of men, in this masculine, testosterone-filled industry that we have. I definitely want to make my show diverse. I'm not saying it in any kind of political correctness aspect of things, but really, I just enjoy the female perspective, always have, just throughout life in general. And I definitely have been wanting to bring more women on the show, especially Lacey, and to have her on and have her finally get on here was just been a blessing, and super excited to have her. I definitely think you'll get a lot of things from this interview with her, just a lot of just personal things that she shares that I think you'll take to heart. A lot of things that I completely related to, and it's interesting as I go through these interviews and talk to artists. It's amazing the paths that we all take are different paths, but we all also experience a lot of the same things. Even being a female-male aspect with her and I, we both have experienced a lot of the same things in this industry growing up, including the similar burns, which you'll hear at the end of the Crash and the Kiln round with her. Just a lot of really interesting stuff, and it was a lot of fun talking to her. And again, having her on was awesome. She is going to be coming back on with her husband. The two of them have a gallery that they're going to be opening up soon, and he's been in this industry for the last 10 years as a rep for other glass artists, and through their meeting and getting to know each other and getting married and where they're at now in life. She has a show she has coming out that she's going to be basically making her kind of a reveal for her comeback in a sense in the industry, because she has not blown glass for the last 18 months, and due to the big changes in her life. And then we're going to bring them back on, because I've always wanted to have a couple on the show that are, I still want to bring a couple on the show that are both glassblowers, but being that their dynamic is the artist and the salesperson per se, the promoter, and being that she's also very introverted, he's very yeah, that one. It's late, I'm tired, I'm sorry if I'm not getting the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say. So it's going to be fun to have them back on. Her show's coming up real soon. I don't have the date here in front of me, but we talk about it in the interview, so you'll get that, and also have the dates and the links for everything that they've got going on in the show notes as well. So we're going to talk about that later on down the road next month when they have their grand opening for their gallery and the show happens and everything else. We're going to talk about the show and just some really amazing stuff that she has going on. So I hope you guys definitely enjoy this interview. But besides that, a lot of things have been going on in my life. I've been working my ass off. I'm doing the 4 days on, 3 days off thing right now. Working about 44 hours a week really is what I'm doing now behind the torch. Developing new stuff. I've been working on some new character work. This Figment I've been working on now for like the last 6 months has been my Achilles heel per se. And I think I'm meeting with tomorrow with today's Monday. I'm recording this here Monday night. But I'm going to be meeting with my art director tomorrow morning with my Figment sample to make sure that what I have made is on point and is going to be able to go to Disney for approval, which I'm super excited about. But it's also been super frustrating too. So it's just kind of one of those things. I'm not complaining. I'm just letting you know what's going on. And then once we get that going, then my baby Groot I'm working on will go back into development and stuff. But so besides that, just kind of been keeping the things rolling with the podcast. Websites are getting updated. I've been really going through the pages and updating them and making sure everything looks cohesive, as well as the events page. Trying to get on top and stay on top of that. I have a friend of mine who's going to help me keep that up to date as well. So with that being said, if you have any shows, events, classes, anything you want to promote that has a date to it, that is definitely set in stone, let me know. Send me an email, it's Wise Guy Media. Let me double check this. Fuck. I'm pretty sure it's wiseguymedia@gmail.com. I have like 4,000 fucking emails. wiseguymedia@gmail.com. Hit me up. You can also contact me on my Instagram too if you want to send me a direct message. My Instagram for the podcast is wiseguy_radio, or you can also hit me up on my glass art page, which is J Michael Glass, JMICHAEL Glass. Again, I'll have those links in the show notes. But again, any classes, events, workshops, seminars, anybody else that has one going on or what have you, definitely hit me up. We're going to be posting these up, talking about them on the show. If you have an event coming up as well that you want to promote and you want to come on the show as a guest, hit me up as well. I'm always looking for new people to come on the show. I have a long list of artists that are already all lined up and stuff, but I'm always looking for people to come on the show constantly. So definitely hit me up. I would love to have you on. Other than that, it's getting to be summertime here. Spring officially, I guess, but here in Florida, it's fucking summer. It was 88 degrees today. And so, that being said, we're going to start getting back into more health talk as the heat starts to rise and we all start sweating and need to stay hydrated. Going to be talking into proper footwear and keeping your shop safe for yourself for the summer, all that good shit, ventilation, like all that stuff. Things I've covered in the past, but things that are going to be more incorporated into this show as we continue to grow and get on a regular schedule here. And going to be bringing Mike Souza back on. Actually, I'm saying this now, just putting this out in the cosmos because I have not talked to him in a couple months. But I do want to bring him back on the show just to kind of update where he's at right now up in Princeton. But also, we were talking about before about doing a Mythbuster style show because there's so many questions and comments and things I get, as well as seeing things like on Torch Talk in different areas and the glass community that a lot of the answers are not correct. And I don't have a whole lot of time myself to go on there and correct people or have to deal with trolls or whatever. So I think by bringing Mike on, him and I can ask him these questions that I'm seeing that these answers are not being answered correctly necessarily, that he can actually give us a real answer. Because to me, Mike is the encyclopedia of glass right now. He's just a wealth of knowledge, and having been in a glass blower, especially a scientific glass blower, for as long as he has been, he's definitely someone that I'm excited to bring back on the show again. So for sure, he'll be back on here in the next couple of months. I still need to contact the kids over there at Glass Vegas. They're going to be coming on the show. We've already touched base, but in terms of setting things up to get them on. So a lot of things in the works right now, just being busy and getting distracted with my other, with my actual job that I have. Makes some things difficult at times to keep on task, and that's why I have a friend coming on board to help me keep things going. So I'm definitely excited about that. And again, I don't promote it too much, but I do want to just say if you are interested in helping support this podcast, helping me pay the bills for this thing, because this thing does cost me about $150-ish a month or more at times, depending on how many episodes we actually put out. You can become a Wise Ass. We have already officially one Wise Ass, and you can become another Wise Ass if you'd like to join the community. And you can just sponsor the show for as little as $1 a month by going to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Wise Guy Radio. And again, I'll have that link in the show notes. And it's like basically for the year, it only costs you $12. You can sponsor the show, and every little penny does help. Again, with all the domain name fees and services and podcasting costs, like there's a lot of different things. And I also want to be able to start upgrading some equipment, get more than the 1 or 2 microphones that I have, start updating the video work, like all that kind of stuff, because I've got a lot of things that are in the works right now with the online classes that I have right now going on a beta test, that I'm going to begin to incorporate some of that stuff into packages that I'll be offering my Patreon members. For those that are Wise Asses, as a thank you for becoming on there and becoming a sponsor. We have some new t-shirt designs also coming up soon that we're going to be launching. My daughter and I actually have a whole another side business that we're working on. It's called Inspired on Main, and it's kind of a Disney-inspired, retro kind of themed t-shirt logo design we're going to be doing, offering t-shirts and stuff for the Disney fanatics out there. But also, we're going to be working on some shirts for the glass community as well. That incorporate the podcast and the Wise Guy logo and the owls and all that good fun stuff. So a lot of fun stuff in the works. But enough of me rambling here. It's been 12 minutes, so I'm going to let you go. Definitely, please, if you have an iPhone, please leave a review for us if you can on iTunes. It helps out the show tremendously. Lets iTunes and the Apple media people know that the show is being listened to. And share it with your friends on any of your social media feeds. I'm going to be doing somewhat of a giveaway type of thing here pretty soon, too. I'm going to be offering for a thank you to those that promote and help push the show out there, just to help continue it to grow. Just want to get this out to as many people as we possibly can, because I constantly hear on a daily basis that glass is a dying art, and I constantly am correcting people, letting them know that it's such a big thing right now that I started a podcast to reach out and talk and teach, and just talk glass because of how much I love it and how much you love it and how much this industry is growing. So let's continue to share this industry with the rest of this world out there, whether you're in Europe or Asia or Africa or Australia. Wherever you're at, share the show with your peoples and let them know what's going on, because the glass world is growing every day. It's amazing. Constant expansion. It's like the COE of the world. There you go. So that being said, love you so much. Thank you for tuning in to episode 190 featuring LaceFace. And until next time, we'll talk to you on episode 191. Enjoy. Love you so much. Bye-bye. Hey, Lacey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. Like I said pre-show, I'm going to fanboy out during this episode. I've been a huge fan of your work for the longest time. Besides the feminine aspects of your work, but the intricacies and the things that come out of your brain that go into your glass, and also your performance, in a sense, I feel that comes from the nature of how you work, which I can relate to myself, being a performer at Disney, in a sense, doing the glass stuff. So it's something I've always looked up to you as, in a sense, and definitely appreciate. And besides all the trailblazing and somewhat being a face for the women's movement, in a sense, if we want to call it that, in the pipe industry, in this testosterone-filled world of a bunch of burly glassblowers out there. So it's I definitely appreciate the feminine perspective in the glass, and other women we've had on the show before have had that same perspective. But for you personally, I've been following your work for probably since you got started early on, and so again, I'm glad we were able to make this work out and talk about your little bit of a comeback you have going on, and what's been going on with you in the last 2 years, and kind of want to cover some before that and then after that, where we are now, and all that good stuff.
Awesome.
So thanks for having me on, or having me on. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah.
So
For real though, I'm really honored to be here and be able to speak on this platform. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, likewise. So before I go too off topic here and start getting all crazy on you, if you want to just get us started here with telling us all about your superhero origin story and how you were introduced into the flame.
Wow, superhero origin story. Okay, let's see, where do I start? I guess it starts way before I even got on the torch. I'm going to say probably over 20 years ago. A little background story. There was a group of, you could call them like punk skater kids in Southern Oregon, kind of in the Ashland area. And, they were kind of young in their 20s and partiers, raging, kind of like all of us, like all of our friends. And someone introduced someone else to pipe making. And in this group of kids was my uncle, which is my mom's younger brother, my mom's ex-husband. Darby was in this group of kids, his brother Karsten, in this group of people. And so kind of long story short, I've basically known Darby and his brother Karsten since I was like a little kid, knee high. And so I kind of watched it growing up. I think I saw my first pipe being made when I was about 10 years old. So that would be 25 years ago. Yeah. And so I grew up in the culture and grew up around it. And so that was kind of how I got exposed. But then I ended up living with my dad while my mom and her ex-husband moved down to South Lake Tahoe, and they started a head shop down there. And they had about 8 guys making proto for them. And so basically when I was done going to school, kind of done with college and not really sure what I wanted to do, I ended up moving down to live with my mom. And I wanted to blow glass, and kind of backtracking a little bit. Like, I was always super creative. I took like every single art class you could take in school. I wanted to create things, and I knew that much. And, but I didn't want to make pipes necessarily. Like, I didn't smoke. So I didn't really understand the whole culture. I thought the glass blowing was really cool, but I was like, I don't know if I want to make pipes. I don't get it, and so I actually went to Bible college after high school. I mean, I started like getting into like this religious family kind of thing, and that was kind of really my mindset. I just didn't agree with smoking, and it wasn't until I turned 20 and had a boyfriend who was a stoner that I kind of like, I was like, oh, okay, like this is not like the devil's grass,
right?
This is not what I've been brainwashed in thinking it is. And so I just like became aware and kind of accepted my family more and what they did and an appreciation for it. So anyways, after college, I just was like, really like, okay, I want to go blow glass. I want to go learn how to do this and make pipes. And really, I wanted to make art, but I just figured, hey, I'll make pipes for right now just so I can like pay some bills and, I'll make art later. And so, yeah, I mean, that was kind of the beginning.
Oh yeah, interesting.
hmm Yeah, it's very interesting. Like if you would have asked me when I was, 20, if I, would be a career pipe maker, then I would have just like laughed, been like, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
I want to, go to school and be successful. And I studied education. I wanted to be an art teacher, actually. And so, yeah, it's just really kind of funny how life turns out.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's amazing, and it's funny when you are finally like you're saying, like when you're officially introduced into the culture, through your ex-boyfriend at the time. I was kind of the same way, because I grew up Roman Catholic and was kind of sheltered most of my life, and then everything was like, I'll never forget that my mom waking me up at like 3 a.m. when I was like probably 11 years old to bring me. She was watching like the 700 Club or some shit, and the guy on there they were doing it was back when like Judas Priest was in jail or in court for their supposed like Satan messages and their albums if you played them backwards bullshit time. And they had this whole thing on Kiss, and it was like it stood for Kids in Satan's Service, right? And that's what they said it stood for. And I believed that shit until I was like in my 20s and actually listened to Kiss, and I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? These guys just want to party and have sex and do drugs and have fun. It's like, what the fuck? And then but the pot was the same way for me. Like once I got introduced to it when I was like 17, 18, it was like, this is not like heroin or crack or something like that. It's, it completely opened my mind to a whole different culture out there, which is
Yeah.
thank God.
I know, right? I mean, it's just really interesting how culture does that, and how you're so susceptible to what when adults tell you when you're younger.
Yeah.
And how those ideas really affect, who you are in life if you allow yourself to be swayed by other people's ideas. You have to kind of go out in life and learn for yourself about, what you feel is right. And so that's what I ended up working for me, just living, getting out there and experiencing it for myself.
Did you find that your parents though were kind of like, don't be a glassblower? Like, were they trying to talk you out of that kind of whole thing, or were they promoting or, rooting you on in a sense?
Yeah. Well, my mom and dad were very different ideas. My dad was like all about, you have to go to college, like, don't smoke, don't make pipes, like that's not a career. Like he was didn't understand it at all. But my mom, on the other hand, was like the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Like I said, like she married a pipe maker,
right,
and she ran a head shop, and she's always been a smoker and always, all about it. And she was really excited when I showed interest in blowing glass, and she's my biggest fan for sure.
Hell
so
yeah,
I had both sides. Yeah.
Well, it's always interesting as kids. We always grow up and we're like, I'm not going to be like my parents, and then we end up being almost exactly like them in the end. And it's it's interesting to see how that always turns out. Not always, but it's like most of my family is very creative, whether they're teachers or they've owned businesses or they're artists or musicians or what have you. So it's in my blood, which is why I'm doing this podcast. I mean, for me, taking all the glass knowledge I have and then wanting to be an educator and kind of made me do this show. So it's just, again, fighting what our family did. I wanted to be different, and we're just carrying it on. It must be in our genes or something.
It really is. And it's really funny too. Like, as far as my dad's concerned, it's like, I feel like my personality traits that allow me to be, a good glass blower, I got from him. His patience and his ability to focus on projects and complicated things. I mean, my dad was a maker too, and so it's pretty funny that way. Like, I feel like that came from him.
Yeah.
So,
in college at all, did you get any kind of exposure to glass there, or was it?
No. I did ceramics. Clay was really my thing in college. I mean, I took every single ceramics course in high school and college. I was like the teacher's aide. I was that, that person there after hours,
Yeah,
like,
that was me too.
working into the night, like
That's too funny.
making projects. So it was that, but I took painting and sculpting and mixed media. I took every art class I could. I just liked making things, but I didn't get exposed to glass um, in school. It was really through my home life, and even in the beginning, like I just associated it with pipe making, and I didn't really think at first that it could be art, and it wasn't until like that I really started getting exposed to um, in the late 90s and early 2000s when Darby started getting really good and I started seeing what he was making. I was like, whoa, like this really can be art.
Yeah.
This really can be conceptual and like speak something to you, and have a meaning. And so it was really then that I really started to fall in love with it and be like, wow, this is a true art form. And at least for me, I mean, it is a craft, but it's also an art form. It's a way to communicate ideas.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing. Having someone like Darby to be exposed to early on is definitely interesting. Because like myself, I didn't really have any exposure except for a couple smoke shops around town that had some Cali glass in their shelves. So to actually growing up in this industry around that definitely is would be a huge jumping off point, I guess, in a sense, like you're saying, to understand the creativity side of things, not just having to crank out production all day to pay your bills, but there is an art side of this whole thing.
yeah, it was really funny early on, like when I started really getting out there and getting my name out there and traveling and stuff. Like, uh, I thought because I grew up in Oregon and Oregon's like the mecca for glass blowing, it's like glass blowers all over the place. And I thought it was just such a normal, regular thing that everybody did. And it wasn't until I traveled outside of Oregon that I realized that like nobody else does what we do. There's definitely like something really unique about glass blowers from the Northwest that have been doing this for and I'm talking like the pioneers, like Deppy and Banjo and those guys. Like
Yeah.
you just get out there and you realize that no one else in the world is really doing what they're doing in this little corner of the country. And so that was really cool when I really discovered that, like how lucky I was to really be exposed to all these people really young and early and to have them as my influence.
Do you find that exposure early on helped you technically with your work at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah, just being involved in those groups, like I lived up in Bellingham for 6 years. So after Lake Tahoe, and being with my stepdad and those guys down there, I moved up and hung out sort of with the like Scott Deppy's crew and all those guys up there. And that's where I really kind of came into my own, where I started making glass kind of up to a standard because I wanted, I guess, approval. I wanted people to be like, oh, that's cool, because that's what we're all doing. We're all like making the coolest badass thing we can and hoping that our friends think it's cool too.
Yeah.
And so it's I really appreciate that, like just being surrounded by those guys and having them be like, oh, you missed a smudge there, there's some divot there, because they're going to be your critic.
Yeah.
But like it kind of holds you up to this standard. I had this like standard of work, and it only made me better.
Yeah,
it was
I could
hard
imagine. Yeah.
a lot of times, but it only made me better. So
Well, to kind of back
that's
up a
cool.
little bit, like early on when you first started doing it, like what were some of the early on stuff you were making? When like when you were learning?
So yeah, so it's been almost 2004, so yeah, 14 years at this point. And so when I first started, it was spoon pipes. Spoon pipes for days, critter pipes for probably the first couple years, maybe 3 years, that I was just making pipes. And I was also going to school, so I was making a living with my pipes, and also being a bartender, and also being a barista. Like I had 3 jobs at one point to try and get through school.
Hell yeah.
So really the spoon pipes supported me through that. And it wasn't until probably 4 or 5 years into it, 2009-ish, that I really started making, I guess what you'd say like heady bubs, where I would put like multiple sections of reversals, and I'd make little flowers and attachments and attach them on, like, and I started really having fun. And I guess it was a time where this flip switched in me, where I went from really being afraid to go big and complicated to just doing it and just being like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just gonna have fun, and if it makes it, makes it. If not, then oh well, try again. And once that sort of switch flipped in me, it was like, a whole new world opened up. And so
Too cool.
that happened about 2009, and that was when I was really interested in the female form. Even back when I did ceramics, I was making naked lady figures. And so that just, I don't know where that comes from. That's always been my muse.
Hey, me too.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love naked lady?
Yeah,
like,
tell me.
it's a thing. And so anyways, yeah, I started just practice. I think I had like an old Mylan Townsend book, and he's got a tutorial in there about making a female figure. And so I just like practiced and practiced. And then when I finally made one that I thought was really good, then I like put it on a bong. And that was a moment. Like the first time I did that, I think it was 2009, but that was a moment for me. And I held it in my hands. I was like, oh my God, like, I think I can do this.
Hell yeah.
Where I really was like, I think I can make headies, and I didn't believe in myself before that. I had first couple years, like I had a lot of haters, a lot of guys, just not believing in me, not giving me a chance, not thinking that I could do it or like make anything of it. And so that mindset kind of held me back. I was fearful. I didn't believe in myself for a while, and then I just did it one day, and I was like, wait, like maybe you can. I like switched that script in my own head, and something changed after that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like that whole that quote, the whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Kind of idea.
Totally.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think Zig Ziglar said that shit, but it's so true. But it's amazing hearing that you had that breakthrough. Cause it seems like that's when everything really started to happen for you.
Yeah, it was 2010 really. I just randomly happened to be at Nate Dizzle's studio and ran into Abe Fleischman, and he's like, hey, we need a female for the Champs flame off in Las Vegas. Like, we need a spot filled. Do you want to do it? And and I was like, freaked out, but I said yes. Okay, like, I guess. And so I ended up going down and being in this competition, end up winning first place. And that was really like a moment where nobody knew who I was before that, and then after that everybody knew.
Yeah, there comes this cute girl, like, who the hell is this chick? and then you win the thing.
Yeah. Just out of nowhere.
It's
like
amazing.
Out of nowhere.
So cool.
That was huge, and it also, did something with my confidence, where I was just like, oh, like, wow, like maybe I do have something here, and I should really work hard at this, like I'm a part of something now.
Yeah.
And that was when like really the community really got to me. I really understood. I made a bunch of friends, and I kind of really understood what the community was about, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the culture and the idea and what we all represent. It was really, really a beautiful time, where before I felt like I'd always been searching for what I was supposed to do in life. Always very, I was just a big inward thinker person, and had, bouts with depression, and always just kind of feeling like I just had no direction and didn't know what my path was, and after that year, after I won that competition and sort of believed in myself, I just like realized, I was like, wow, like this is it. This is what I'm meant to do with my life. And, I want to be a part of this. And that love has stayed with me ever since.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like it's kind of interesting, like you're saying, like you go through your whole life just trying to find like what's the meaning of my life, and then also like your tribe in a sense too.
Yeah.
And that's why I think what's
Hmm.
so unique with our industry is like we've all kind of those that have been in this for as long as we have, and even get people that are new in this too. Like my brother's been doing glass for about 5.5 years. You would think he's been blowing glass for 20 years with the way he's just stepped his game up, and it's cool to see. We all find this thing that we're meant to do, and then we find our tribe, and here we are, and now it's just this big circle of love and compassion and joy and creativity. It's so cool.
It's it's really amazing, especially when you look at our society and culture, and
Hmm.
how much despair and suffering there is because people don't believe that they have opportunity,
Yeah.
and what they don't realize is that we create it, and we make our own opportunity. We write our own life and our own stories, and we have all the control. And we just get stuck in this mindset that there isn't any options out there, and that's so far from the truth. uh, it might not be right in front of your face, but there's abundance. It's unlimited, your potential in this world.
Yeah, I completely agree, 100%. And I think too, what I find is sad is a lot of people don't believe that they deserve it, and whether they do or they don't, I think everybody does deserve some opportunity, some kind of peace to find your passion and your drive to make a difference in the world. It's
Yeah.
and I think we all kind of like you're saying, when you stick the naked lady on the side of the bong, and it's like all of a sudden the light bulb goes on. It seems like that was your moment of believing that you deserved this. In a sense, it's to be a part of the tribe and the community, and especially being a female. Like I said, we started off early on. There's been females in this industry who I've looked up to that are just incredible artists. But I feel like you were one of the first to really stand out in a sense. And I don't know if it was just because of your exposure that you got, or the champ shows, trade shows, just different things. But I mean, fuck, look at social media and where we are now. Who would have thought, it's
Yeah.
with exposure as things. Was that champs your first trade show, or was that like?
No, I had been going to trade shows for a couple years. Before that, I probably started going in like 2000, just selling glass with, my stepdad, and just the crew in Tahoe. I was just a worker, just,
Yeah.
another girl behind the booth
Hmm.
selling pipes, selling spoons, so that was just really the first time that I had a light shown on me, really, and it really was the beginning of kind of lighting a fire in me, believing that I had something more to give, and that people were uh, gonna receive it, and so
Hell yeah. You think that was
yeah.
too like a early moment for you to have the sensation of performing like that? Since you're out there in a crowd doing that in front of people.
Yeah, yeah. That didn't really bother me. I've been a musician in a past life, so I've been in a couple bands, and so being on stage and being sort of a performer, that wasn't really difficult. Blowing glass is definitely difficult in front of people. Like, you're shaky, and it's hard to focus. But I don't know. Something I've always had this ability, I guess, this sense of sort of calm. It's weird. Like, a lot of people get stage fright where,
Hmm.
uh, but something comes over me when I get in front of people, and it's like this sense of calm, almost this sense of like revere and honor, just that I get to be in front of you, and that you're listening to me, and I feel honored by that, and so that gives me sort of courage, if that makes sense.
No, it
Like,
makes
I
I
don't know.
can because I do that on a daily basis. I'm in front of. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm on stage doing it all day like that. So, because for me, I enjoyed. I always ask the guests. If somebody has any questions, let me know. And a lot of times
Yeah.
people don't know what to ask. Or a lot of times
Uh-huh.
they're afraid to talk to you because you're working, and then you think you're going to burn yourself. And everybody's amazed that I can have this full conversation. I might break something or drop something on the floor and just keep rolling with the punches. But I always enjoy to bring them into me and to bring them into my space and have the conversation and make them a part of the creation as well as what's going on. And I'm in the same boat. Like I find like I was actually talking about this yesterday at work, and the days that it rains, people tend to come inside the stores to get out of the rain, and that's usually when I have like the biggest crowds around me because everybody's just kind of staying dry. And I'll have like 50 or 60 or 100 people even like in a circle around my space watching me, and it's like it's fucking intimidating, when you feel all this energy of all these humans around you staring at you. So I always have to have a conversation. Otherwise, I do get nervous when at that point in time. It's like I get a little, I don't know. It's weird. But if I can communicate,
it is weird.
It's different.
There's always nerves. Like for me in the beginning, like even doing this show, it's the nerves are there, but for me, what overpowers that is just this sense of like humility. Like, oh man, like I feel just blessed that I even get an opportunity to be heard.
Yeah.
That's someone listening out there. So
yeah, it's awesome. I get that too. I have the same sense like with this show alone. Like when I got the first download, I was so like fucking excited. I'm like, yeah, I'm not talking to myself anymore. Kind of thing. Totally. But the same thing with the work. I'm asked a lot like, what's my favorite thing to make? And my first answer is always my go-to default in a sense is just the opportunity to be able to sit there in a place that I've dreamt as an artist, as a child, to work as an artist, to do this every day is a blessing, and I love it. And then I get into my specific things I do enjoy doing stuff. But yeah, it's an amazing opportunity for all for those of us that can afford to do it full time. I mean, even if you can't afford to do it full time, you're still doing it full time, and you're struggling. Fucking keep doing it because eventually you'll be able to afford to do it full time. But to wake up every day and go out to the kiln and look at stuff and to touch something that has never been touched by human hands before for the first time, it's like there's all these little cool little things we get to do on a daily basis that just nobody ever besides us that do this for a living get to experience that. And it's such a cool opportunity.
Yeah, we are a blessed bunch for sure to be able to create with our hands and have something tangible at the end of the day to hold on to and be like, well, look, I made this, now I'm gonna put it out in the world.
Yeah, and then you have to deal with the criticism.
Yeah, there's always that too. But sometimes like you're your own worst critic too.
Oh yeah, totally.
I can be
absolutely
be hard on myself.
Yeah, it's so funny. So before I go too far forward with blessings that you've had in your life, after you won the Champs competition, was that the point in time where Slinger was out and about doing his filming and reached out to you guys out there to get you on Degenerate Art?
Yep. It was at the DFO, actually, a couple months after that I met Slinger, and I was like total fangirl. It's like, oh my God, you're Slinger. And we just started talking, and I told him my story, and he was like, whoa, you might be one of the first sort of second generation pipe makers, that I know about. And I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. And he's like, can I interview you? And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And I didn't know if I was going to make it into the movie or what. But yeah, it worked. And, we became friends and ended up, competing at the Glassroots competition together, and I ended up going to New York for the first time and Philly to work with him and those guys, and that was really a huge eye-opener, just seeing a different world. And Slinger's been a good friend of mine and given me a lot of really amazing advice, life advice. He's just a really amazing person. But I was super humbled and that he used my interview in the movie and used my photo for the cover. It was such a cool thing. I'm just forever grateful to that guy for being so fucking awesome.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think a whole generation of glassblowers, which also is what spawned this podcast, are grateful for him having that film. I mean, as many times as I've seen Degenerate Art, I could see it 1,000 times. I stand up usually by the end of the film because I'm so fucking jacked up. I'm like, okay, and so I can go out in the shop and get to work.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Like for me, it's like watching a home video. It's like these are all my friends, all people that I know, and so it's just like it's so cool. I'm so glad that I for people that I've met in life that were my my college professors and my doctors and my dentists, like, like, go watch this movie if you want to understand who I am and what I do. Like, go watch this. And I'm so thankful to him for providing that, like,
Yeah.
just a context, because you can't just explain it to someone who doesn't know, like,
Yeah, it's true.
you just can't, and people don't get it. People are still like, pipes, like, you can make money off of that, like, and so for all those people who don't know, to be able to just say, like, look, watch this, and really, like, it's such a cool thing to have. I'm so glad we have it, and
Yeah.
I hope we get lots more, like, people out there make documentaries, like, talk about it. I think we need more media for what we do.
Yeah, I agree. Have you seen JD's his one that he recently did, his Vagabond?
I haven't yet. No, I want to see it real bad.
It's really good too. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. It's definitely it gives a different perspective. There's more interviews in it in a sense, which for me I love, because I love hearing how eloquent a lot of these our glass blowers in our industry are. It's like everybody looks at us as a bunch of crazy stoners, but it's like you talk to some of these guys and gals, and it's like not only are they educated, but they speak eloquently. And like I can listen to Banjo talk for fucking 4 hours or longer, just because of how he talks, and his philosophy in life in general too. But just this documentary he has some really amazing interviews in it, which I definitely recommend anybody checking it out too. It's pretty badass. But before I forget to ask you, on the cover of Degenerate Art, to me, it's the most epic glass blowing, still to this day, photo of that I've seen, and I've come across thousands. I mean, with social media, all these pictures out there. But that shot of you with that big ass piece of glass and that giant flame and your bandana on your face, and just the angle of the shot, just something about the composition of that photo. I wanted to like have that poster on my wall because it's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Was there like a photo shoot for that, or was it just you mid glass blowing for it?
Dude, no. I will say Chris Carlson is a badass photographer. If you don't know, follow him. He's an amazing glassblower, but he's just great with the camera, and he's always, he's done photography for a long time. So he was just taking photos at the DFO, and that was like literally like right in the middle of the competition. I'm working on a can for this, like, I called them what were they? Miss Butterworth pieces, or Budworth pieces, because they were like, the old like Butterworth syrup bottles.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So like with the lady that kind of had the big flowy, the skirt and the top, like that's what I was making for that competition, and so that was the bottom of the skirt. But a little background for that photo, just a personal story, is that going back to the being a female in the male-dominated industry thing, back in the early days, I was very insecure about being a female and about being good enough to be where I was, and it was something that really pushed me to work really hard, because I felt like I had to prove something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I really wanted people to look at my work and say, wow, like that's an amazing piece of work, and not say, oh, that work's cool, but she's hot, like she's a, a good looking lady or whatever. Like, I wanted people to see my work and not see me. So in that first couple of years, 2010 to 2013 or whatever, every time I went out and did a demo, I had my bandana on, I had my hat on, I had jeans and a t-shirt on. Like, I wasn't putting my boobs out or sticking my ass out, or I was acting like a dude, because I wanted to be taken seriously. And so it's really interesting that I was kind of fighting my own identity as a woman, to feel like I was a part of this industry. And so it's funny, whenever I look at that picture, that's what I think of. I'm like, oh, the hat, the bandana, like I was hiding.
Interesting.
I was shy, but I was hiding, and so that's just a really important part of my path, because it took me a really long time to realize, like, hey, Lacey, guess what? You're never going to be one of the guys. No matter how hard you try, like, you just, that's not who you are. And so I had to really learn how to accept that about myself. And that took a long time. Like, I don't think that really happened until recently. Um, but yeah, that's a it's a
Fascinating.
long story.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I've always wondered that because I know a lot of females wear bandanas around their faces, and I've always, a couple women I've talked to in the past that, it's a lot of it was just to keep the heat off your face, so you're not like drying out your, whatever,
Oh yeah,
you
that
know.
like the technical aspect. That's huge. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I do it when I'm working alone in my studio still too. When I'm working on like a big chunk of glass, and I
Hmm.
put the bandana on because you burn the fuck out of your face.
Yeah.
Like if you don't cover it with something. So bandana's easy. So like I've always kind of had one anyways, but for me it was like an extra bonus to be able to hide behind it.
Yeah, it's
And
interesting.
yeah.
Huh. Well, I appreciate you sharing that story. It's one of the things about the show I like to bring out of the artist is these little behind the scenes things because I'm such a curious person. I'm always asking these kind of questions. So I'm glad you gave that without me having to bring it up or anything. So yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Well, it's just that's what I think about when
Well,
when I see that picture.
it's an interesting dynamic because with the women in our industry, there's a ton of them that are super cute, talented artists that you're saying, like, a lot of men look at these, are like, oh, this is just a cute chick, glass blower or whatever, do you blow, blah blah blah, fucking stupid jokes,
Yeah.
and I do appreciate how you're saying you're not wanting to be looked at as a cute woman who's a glass blower. You want to have someone that look at you as a professional artist who has some talent, and this is my body of work, not just here's my body, but here's my glass that I'm making. So I can definitely appreciate that, coming from a conservative perspective, but also coming from, an empowerment type of thing. For me is how I'm looking at you by you doing that. I think it's pretty badass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It was how I was kind of raised in this industry, and there was all those insecurities, but I'm so thankful for that on my path because I wouldn't be here. Like if I didn't feel like uh in that there was unjust against me, for lack of a better term, if
Hmm.
I didn't feel discriminated against and marginalized and belittled, like that's all that shit that happened. Like that, I could write a book about stories of things that I've been through in the glass shop and with the men in the industry, and but if I hadn't have gone through all that stuff, like it wouldn't. I'm the type of person where like if you wrong me, like it's gonna light a fire in me, and I'm gonna freaking not stop until I prove that you're wrong, for
Hmm.
doing that.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to prove myself, and I'm gonna work my ass off and show you, that I can be good or whatever it is, and so I feel like it's a lot of that motivation of feeling like I always had something to prove. It's what made me work so hard um, to really, perfect my craft the best that I could. And it sucks feeling like you always have something to prove. I mean, that shouldn't be the reason why you create.
Hmm.
But it motivated, it did bring me to this higher level that I don't know that I would have gotten to otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Um,
anything wrong with it being a motivational factor per se, as long as it's not like the complete reason for doing something, you know.
yeah. No, I mean, it can't be because that's hollow.
Yeah.
It's important to be authentic with your work and not just try and do something because you're trying to get approval or people to like you or people to respect you. I mean, uh, I don't know. I mean, at this point, I just feel like I want my work to really communicate, yeah, the hard work and beauty, but like just who I am as a person, and
Hmm.
and so yeah, it's hard to put into words,
No, but
but
I understand that because for me,
yeah,
I talk about a lot on the show. Is just like, for me, the glass is such a teacher, for us in just all aspects of life. Like I always say, if your glass is not on center, the shit ain't gonna come out like you want it to come out. Or like the setup at the very beginning of the process is always so important. And that can go
hmm
into correlating for your day, like how you start your day off. Like if you don't start your day off right, like they say, make your bed. That's the first thing you should do because at least you accomplished one thing. Whether you had a
hmm
shitty day or not, you can come home and say, hey, look, at least I made my bed today, type of thing. But also
yep,
in life, if we're not on center in life, it fucking falls apart. You end up going down the wrong path or whatever.
hmm
And then also all the the bullshit we deal with as glass artists, from the stuff falling apart and breaking, and the heartaches and the headaches and the cuts and burns, and we're getting scolded by our peers, but also by the glass. So it's kind of all kind of correlates together as we grow up in this. And yourself too, you've grown up in this industry like I have. I started doing this when I was 22 years old, and here I'm 41 now. So it's like, having grown up, I mean, literally, I love talking to some of the guys that are my age that are now fathers, that like myself, who grew up as these immature boys who didn't really feel like they were on in a good path until they really found their way with the glass, which then they found their way in life, and then led to them having this amazing life. It's just it's again, that's another unique dynamic that we all get to experience as glass blowers, that no other medium I feel out there or anything in the world has this experience. Maybe as someone that's an actor in a film, maybe because I haven't done that before, so I don't know, but it's just it's interesting.
Every art form, kind of has that thing, has you, in order to be successful, you have to put in the work, and you have to go through the trials and the tribulations to get to where you want to be. If you want to get anywhere, like you have to walk up the mountain,
Exactly. Uphill both ways with bare feet in the snow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so here we are now, present day, and you more or less have been off the torch for almost 2 years, which for someone of your caliber is a long time, and a lot of big, huge changes in your life, which are all, to me, sound like a lot of blessings. And so let's get into that, because part of the reason you're on the show is to not only share your past, but to share the present, and this little bit of a comeback you're in the middle of right now, getting prepared for, in a sense, like a new launch of a new line of work, and also of you as a woman having a baby now and being married. And so let's talk about that. So, being a parent myself, and I was a parent very early on in my life, and when I started blowing glass, it was like, the whole baby syndrome, like I have to make money making this glass work to feed my family. Where you're in a different dynamic now, where you have made success, you were able to find your name and a groove in the industry. Now you have a way to sell your work. So the motivation and the stress is still there being a parent, but it's not as much as if you're a brand new glass blower. That makes sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty lucky that way, that I waited, and I got to have this whole awesome career, before I became a parent. And I got lucky, that way. But yeah, it helped, but I definitely felt that pull. Let's see. Where do I start?
I know, right?
Yeah, I think that I call my pregnancy and that whole year, that was like a spiritual epiphany for me. Before that year, probably for like 2 years leading up to it, I was living out in Colorado, and I was feeling very drained. I'll be honest, like I've gone through some really serious bouts of depression in my life. And I had kind of gotten to a point where I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if glass is my path. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I was really struggling to sell my work. I was struggling to feel a part of the community, and I was just in a dark place. And, just really needing a change. And so I met my husband in the industry, and he was really like one of the first people to come along and be like, look, I see you, and you need to make big work. You need to do what you love and be who you are, and not get so wrapped up in what everybody else is doing around you. And it really, like, having him believe in me and having like a teammate, someone that was supporting me to be who I was, like that was kind of a first for me, because I had always kind of felt like in relationships and stuff like that, I was being somebody else. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it was really like a first time where I was like, wow, like I can really truly be me and have like this support system. And so, right before I got pregnant, I was like starting to get my stride back, starting to get excited and work with artists again and starting to make big stuff. And then I got pregnant. I was like on this uphill, and it was like, oh, you got to stop now. And so I was pregnant and feeling shitty and feeling hormones. I was not a happy pregnant lady.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
was
you are a
not
woman,
one of
aren't
those
you?
ladies. I was not one of those ladies that was like, oh, look at my belly. Like, no, I was hating life.
So funny.
Oh my God. And I hated it because I couldn't work.
Right.
And then my mind started getting to me. Like I had to like, I was going through this mindset where I was like, I'm losing my identity. Like, I'm not going to be able to be a glassblower anymore. I'm not going to know how to do it after this. And like, LaceFace is gone. I would like totally have this like real breakdown. I mean, for months I was just devastated. Like I thought my life was over and all I was going to be was a mom, and that's not the worst thing ever. Like, don't get me wrong.
No, I know what you're saying though.
But like I had so much of my identity wrapped around being this glassblower that when I couldn't be that, when I couldn't participate, it was like life was ending. And it was a really big wake up call, for me to like kind of get back to who I was, not getting back to being LaceFace, but like who I really was inside and what I was about. And I had to really face that truth. And so it was a journey, and so going through and just really being okay with who I was and not blowing glass, and I couldn't even go on Instagram because I was like, because I would cry.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see it because everybody was making work, and I was so upset that I couldn't, and so that was hard. But fast forward, having the baby, and a couple months later, I'm starting to get my strength back, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm a new person today. Like, my son is a year old now, and I feel like for the first time in my life, I don't have anything to prove anymore. Like,
Hell yeah, awesome.
I don't care about selling my work or about what people think or about who's asking me to what show or who's doing what. Like, I don't really care. Like, I just want to create because I love it, because I have things that I want to talk about and beauty that I want to share. And it's such a freeing place to be in now.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's really hard to put into words, and that's like a big part of what my show coming up is about. It's about being a warrior and the elements of a warrior and what a warrior means, because that's often the thought that has kind of gotten me through like the hard times of like, when I was, lost relationships, and when I was discriminated against, and when I was feeling bad for myself, and all these things, like that sense of being a warrior, like, you can get through this, you're a fighter, and so that's kind of like what this comeback show is about. Like, I haven't had a solo show in 7 years. Wow. Since 2011. And I kind of like fell off, and so it's really like for the show that I have coming up, I'm having a bunch of my supporters and buyers that have some significant works that I've made. And so there's going to be like maybe a dozen or more pieces from my past, like monumental sculptures.
Oh, wow.
From my past that people are bringing, as well as a new body of work that I've been working on. And then I'm going to, make a speech at the show and just talk about sort of where I intend to go, which is way beyond pipes. Like, I have so many ideas that I'm so excited about, art projects that I'm just excited about the future and what, what's going to come. I feel there's some fear there, of the unknown, but at the same time, there's just this excitement. Like, I'm like, you can do it. Like, this is what you've been working for, and you're ready now. You're ready to go to the next level of you, and it has nothing to do with the industry, nothing to do with, you know, the popularity or anything like that. It's just this path that I've always been on,
Yeah.
and that's another thing that I want to say, about the path and about being a glass artist is like that's always kept me centered. Like my glass and my work has always kept me centered, and anything in life that has made me feel like I'm not on that path has not felt right. And so when I get back on that path, when I look at glass, it's like my center, and so it's just, I'm so thankful for this medium, and I have this awareness that, my body's not going to work forever. I'm not going to be here forever. There's only so much time that I have on this earth. Like, do I want to spend it playing small and making stuff that doesn't excite me? Like, that's not how I want to live. I want to live to the fullest and make the biggest, most awesomest things that I want, that I can make, and just love it,
Yeah, I'm pumped for you.
So yeah, it's really exciting. It's like, really, it's a comeback, but it's really just like marking this moment in time of like this whole transition into a whole another chapter. I mean, my husband and I, we just we're opening our art gallery here in Ashland, and that's really a dream for both of us. We've always dreamed since like our first date. We talked about it, like how we want to really share this art with the community. Like Ashland is a really tourist community with the Shakespeare Festival and all that, and we want to bring all those doctors and lawyers and Shakespeare people in and tell them about this beautiful culture and art form that's happening, and why pipes are art, and what they do for people's lives, and so we're just excited to have a space to be able to talk about that.
Yeah, it's so cool. And the fact that your husband is supportive and is helping and motivating and promoting, and is just not on the sidelines hanging out taking bong tugs all day. He's actually like intimately involved with you. Well, to sit at home taking bong tugs maybe, but he's still
he's, I mean, he does that too.
But
but he is
it's incredible.
He's a hard ass worker, and he's I'm super introverted. Like I'm definitely very, very shy in person. But he is completely opposite. He loves people. He's an extrovert, and he loves talking to people. So, I mean, for him, this is more, his baby.
Yeah.
He just can't wait to talk about the art, because that's what he loves to do. He distributes glass all over the country. He represents like 30 artists. That's what he's been doing for over a decade.
Hell yeah.
And so, he's got a lot of experience in doing this.
Just thinking out loud here with you, I would love to bring both you guys on together to talk about this dynamic, because I always find it fascinating with couples who are couples in the glass industry, and it seems like you guys have an interesting dynamic where you're the artist and he's the promoter in a sense, and rooting you on and cheering you on and whatever, but you're also doing the same for him. So, I mean, if you guys would be down, maybe after your show, we can talk about the show itself, how it went, et cetera, and the new gallery opening, and then bring
Yeah, I'd love to do that. And I definitely love to talk about the new stuff that I have on the horizon. Like, I'm setting up a Patreon site. So, that I'm going
all about it.
Make public after the show. So I'd love to come back and be able to talk about sort of more of, what we're doing as a family and what we intend to do in the future.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be exciting.
It's a whole new chapter. I'm very excited.
Hell yeah. Fantastic. Well, I think right now would be a great jumping off point for us to take a quick break and thank some sponsors. And then we'll come back, and it'll be time for us to crash the kiln.
All right.
This segment of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Zen Glass Studios. Located in the heart of St. Petersburg, Florida, Zen Glass has a wide range of offerings to choose from. Their menu includes one-on-one or group classes in their hot shop or flameworking studio, create your own wine glass, and so much more. If you're a traveling artist, they even have a space to rent that you can temporarily call home. With over 50 years of combined experience, Zen Glass can help you fine-tune your techniques, whether you're a novice or advanced glass artist. For their calendar of events, including info about their Third Thursday studio jams, you can contact Zen at zenglass.com. That's zenglass.com. Zenglass at zenglass.com. That's zenglass.com. Crashing and Killing round consists of 7 questions, and you can give me a 30 to 60 second answer on each one of them, or you can expound upon them as well, as most of us always do. And the first question I always like to ask is if there's any living glass artist yet that you want to work with and have not yet. Who is it and why?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna call him out right now. I've pretty much worked with like all my heroes, everybody. I've been super blessed to be working with some of the best out there. But there's one person that I haven't worked with yet, who he always says every time I see him, yeah, I want to work with you. I love it. It would be awesome. I love you. So that person, Banjo, if you hear this, hit me up, buddy. I'm waiting.
Yeah, that'd be epic. That would be super crazy.
Yeah, it would just be a dream to work with him. He's, such a beautiful human, and I'd love to really just make something super freaking crazy out of the box with him someday. It's gonna happen. I'm just waiting for him to give me the word, and then I will jump.
Yeah, and your guys' work definitely would mesh well together too. The styles.
Yeah. For sure.
Killer. What are your top 5 favorite colors in glass? And actually, I want to ask you this real quick. So you're out for 18 months not doing any glass work, and the fucking glass color industry changed overnight, literally, with all this new shit coming out. Like, I'm still learning how to use half this stuff. Was it like culture shock for you coming back and being like, what the fuck is going on kind of thing? Or because you weren't doing social media, so you really didn't have your finger on the pulse of what was happening?
Yeah, my husband was definitely filling me in on some stuff.
I figured. He's like, look at this shit.
It was like a kid in a candy store. Yeah, it was like a kid in a candy store when I came back. It was like I called up like Glass Alchemy and North Star, and I was like, give me all these. Like, I'm like 20 colors, I haven't used yet. So it was like really exciting to get all these new CFL colors, and it was fun to just get like a whole bunch of new colors to work with when I was getting back into it. So my favorite colors, start with the old school colors like the North Star yellow and pretty much anything in that amber purple family. It's just an amazing color, the versatility. My favorite color to sculpt with is black, is dark amethyst from North Star. It's like butter. It's my favorite black. My more favorite new school color, serum, is definitely one of the top ones that I love. And GA's has been coming out with some beautiful potion, some beautiful CFL colors lately that I'm stoked on. That's it. I don't get a whole lot of like Monka or Troutman. I get some samples here and there, but really, North Stars, my homies, and GA2 just puts out such quality, amazing stuff. So
cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I love both of those companies. Mm-hmm.
So what is your worst injury in the studio?
So one time I was working and I was tired and decided to reach underneath. I had like the kind of the powerful center fire going, and I like reached underneath it on my bench to like grab a tool or something, and I ended up dipping my knuckle of my pointer finger up into the center fire.
You have the same one.
Oh man, and it burned the crap out of me. So get this, almost exactly 2 years later, I freaking do the same thing on the other hand. Like reaching to grab something under my torch, and late at night, and I'm super tired, and I stick my knuckle in again and like literally just burn it down to the bone, like gnarly. So I have matching gnarly, scars on each side of my knuckle, doing the same thing twice.
Yeah, that's so fucked up because I did the same shit, and I had adjusted my torch the previous day like down, and I got in there, set it back up, but it was just off enough of a pube hair where I did the same thing. It's just fuck. And I went to the Walgreens because I was not going to go to the ER, and I went to the pharmacist, and I'm like, what should I do about this? And she's like, you should go to the ER. I'm like, no, I'm not going to the ER. What should I do?
Yeah. Oh, torch burns are no good.
No, it's amazing how 4,000 almost degrees and the human body just do not really react well together. And it doesn't hurt really right away. I mean, it does, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't hurt. 3 weeks later.
Yeah, that's when it's really bad. I mean, it didn't hurt for a couple weeks or not a couple weeks, a couple days. But when I went to change the bandage, like, 3 days later or something, it was like the most excruciating pain I've ever had in my life. Like, ugh, no good.
Yeah, fuck. When you're in the studio, do you watch TV, listen to the radio, or do you do both?
Okay, so audiobooks. I will
Nice.
listen to like 2 novels a week, and podcasts. Um, I used to listen to a lot of music, but nowadays, I just love absorbing information, and I listen to all kinds of books, anything from like self-help to thrillers to lots of random stuff. But I love it. I've always been a bookworm, so
Oh yeah.
I love that we can listen to books now.
Yeah, and that being said, if you had not yet subscribed to audibletrial.com, you can go to audibletrial.com/wiseguy radio and download a 30-day free trial and get an audiobook for free.
Oh heck yeah, Audible rocks.
Yeah, it's the shit, right? I know.
Yep.
I got so many books.
That's what I listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, that's what I listen to every month, and I love that subscription.
Hell yeah.
Lots of good stuff.
What podcast do you check out? Do you have any favorites?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of This American Life. And anything they do, like the serial stuff, like any of those like stories are super good. I like listening to politics, to news, so I listen to like Pod Save America. I really like The Moth, where people tell stories. What else? Yeah, I listen to like My Morning Coach and just some like happiness and self-awareness stuff. Oh, Oprah. Oprah's the shit.
I agree. I know people don't like her, but I've been a huge fan.
Oh man, she does this Super Soul Conversations, and it's really cool because she interviews really interesting people, and I just love that she, just how open-minded she is and how intelligent and well-read. I mean, I learned so much from that. I mean, sounds cheesy, but it's good shit.
I used to love watching her when she had her show, and I would learn so much about myself and relationships and just life in general. So I definitely appreciate that. A couple ones I recommend if you like learning things. Hardcore History with Dan Carlin. It's like it's probably my favorite history podcast. He'll do some series that are 3 or 4 episodes long, but each episode's like 4 hours. And he could read you an instruction manual to hang a TV on a wall, and you'd be so intrigued listening to him talk that you just would not stop doing what you would stop everything and just like listen to it. It's just, the guy's an incredible narrator and talker. But the way he presents and talks about the history,
I'm writing that down right now.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Hardcore History.
His recent one he just did, no problem, was all about torture and the history of torture through the years and the centuries, really. And he had a whole story about the perspective of the Axeman, basically, the guys that did all the head chopping off and hangings and stuff, and how they were treated in society. And there was a guy that actually was an executioner that kept a journal, and through his research, they were able to find this guy's journal, and they were talking about a lot of the stuff. Just those kind of things like you just never think about. But it's called Hardcore History for a reason, because some of it's pretty graphic. But the information that you learn, I've learned so much about the world wars and the things people went through over the those crazy times. It's fantastic stuff. I can go on all day about them. Another one, it's
awesome.
A short form podcast is The Way I Heard It by Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe does the Dirty Jobs and those other shows. He does, it's like a 7-8 minute long episode each one, but usually it's a story that he's written himself that is about something major that would happen, an event or a person or something that changed the course of history, whether it was a product or whatever, a decision that they made. And he doesn't tell you who they are until the very end of the episode is like the punchline. So you're like listening to it and you're intrigued and you're guessing who it might be, and then all of a sudden it's like goosebumps. It's pretty fucking cool.
Nice.
Tim
That's
Ferriss,
awesome.
He's another one I listen to a lot. The Tim Ferriss Show. Has an amazing. He did a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, and it wasn't about working 4 hours a week, but it's all about the idea of having financial freedom and being able to live the life you want to live. But his interviews with other people on there are the same. They're like high class performers. Anybody from presidents to generals to Arnold Schwarzenegger, you name it, he's had on the show. It's pretty good stuff. And then I listen to a lot of
That's so
business
awesome.
ones. But those ones in particular I definitely dig. Science Versus is another one. It's a Gimlet.
What is it called?
Science Versus. And there's two different
Okay.
podcasts out there called that. This one is done by Gimlet Media and Alex Bloomberg, who used to host Great American Life. He now does this Gimlet Media, and they have a bunch of podcasts. Like they just actually came out with a podcast for kids that when they brush their teeth, that you can talk to your Alexa or your home whatever, and be like, "Hey, play this podcast." It's called Chompers, and it's a 2-minute long podcast that they tell a story that will intrigue your child to listen to while they're brushing their teeth, and then through the process of using like your Alexa or whatever, they keep track of how many days in a row your kids brush their teeth, and then they like have these little celebrations for them and shit. Like it's really awesome concept. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. This podcast medium, it's so cool what people are doing with it nowadays.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's definitely what I end up listening to a lot when I'm working. It's crazy because like I'll be out there for like 5 hours and it'll feel like an hour.
Yeah,
Like it's so crazy how work just flies by when you're just listening to like really good discussion and conversation.
hell yeah, yeah. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what's next. Do you have any glass blowing themed tattoos?
Kind of. So on my arm, I have 2 words, and it's art is ... and nothing after that.
Huh.
And for me, it means I kind of got this tattoo like back in 2010, kind of what we were talking about when I was like kind of coming up in the scene and everything. And I got this tattoo because to me, it means art is undefined. Art is everything. It's relative, like art is different to everybody. And so you can't define what art is. And a lot of people try, and there's all these definitions out there of what fine art is or whatever. But, I personally believe that it's something that is unique to each individual.
Mm-hmm.
So it has no definition. And so that's what that tattoo means to me.
Oh yeah, awesome. I dig it.
Mm-hmm.
If you could describe the sound of glass cracking in one word, whether it's an actual, and I gotta try to find the right way to say this fucking question because I say it different every single time. But either like the literal sound it makes, or like an emotional response that you get from that in one word. How would you describe it?
Ting.
Hey, that works.
Uh-huh. Ting, and 2, I've gotten to the point where I can tell like how just by the pitch of the ting, like if it's a brace or if it's in the body of the piece or if it's an attachment, like I can tell of like I don't know, the tone or whatever, where that crack is. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, especially when your
before I even
blowpipe,
look at it.
the blowpipe
Yeah.
like magnifies that sound sometimes too. It sucks. And then you wonder if it's like a punny on your bench or some stupid shit. It's like, oh my god, what just cracked?
Yeah. Luckily, I've learned that the loudest ones are like the when your bridge breaks or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
something that's not on there quite all the way. I make the loudest ones. So I'm like, I hear it and I'll be like, okay, don't worry, you don't have to worry. I'll like calm myself before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, you go in there with all that stress and it just goes right in your glass.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then you can't do anything about it. That's what I love about glass, man. It's so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like if you're not in the right mindset, it's not gonna work out for you. Like if you're in a bad mood, like it's just you're not gonna make anything like happy or fun because it has to come through you. It's glass is an extension of you, and that's something that's so beautiful about the medium. Like it takes your full energetic attention and focus. You can't just like it's hard to just like set it down and come back to it. Like you really got to be problem solving every minute.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
It's a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It sure is. And the last question I'd like to ask is, what are your 5 favorite tools that you use that are not your glasses or your torch or your kiln?
Well, my mini torch, I don't know if that counts.
It counts, yep.
But that's like my mini torch is my absolute hands down. Like I couldn't make the sculptures that I make without that thing.
Yeah,
Like
game
it's my
changer.
best friend.
Yeah.
Completely. Like once mini torches like kind of came onto the scene, it was like changed my life.
Me too. Yep.
So amazing. I'm so grateful that we figured out that those things are out there and that we can use them and that they're awesome. Um, my shears, my shears are super handy. Use all the time. My reamers. Um, to be honest, like I don't use a whole lot of tools. It's very, very minimal. I use gravity a lot to shape my work. And I feel like that contributes to how flowy my work is because it's like super rare that I'm ever tooling the glass. And I feel like, it's happier that way when it's not stressed out or shoved into positions that it doesn't naturally want to flow into. Like glass is a medium where it just, to me, it just speaks like it wants to like flow and have this movement. And so you got to let it be free to have that movement instead of trying to force it. So
Yeah, well, gravity counts as a tool.
gravity would be number one then.
Do you use any kind of like butter knives or sculpting tools?
I use those little like dental tools. So
Okay.
for my faces, I use those little the dental ones. Like I have one that I've been using probably for like 6 years now. It's like I use it on every face, and it's like never done me wrong. And that's pretty much like the only tool that I use to sculpt with. I got like the badass set of tools for a trade from Bison Tools. Super awesome. Shout out to that guy. He's rad. But yeah, I have like this whole large like 30-piece tool set. That's great, but I never use it. But they're
Nice.
beautiful. They're sitting on my bench all like organized and displayed, and I never it's very, very rare that I'll bust one out and use it. But I don't know. I think it's just I have my way of doing things that's worked for me, and so
Yep.
if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Hell yeah. Well,
So-
it reminds me of one of my favorite glass experiences I've had. I did a demo years ago at a shop down in Fort Lauderdale that Mickelson was doing a demo there too. So it was like him and I side by side doing our setups. And we both set all of our shit up. And the only thing different that he had that I didn't have, he had a blow hose and I didn't have a blow hose because I wasn't going to do any blowing glass that day. But we had the exact same setup, like a knife, like such a minimal amount of tools. And it was so nice to see someone who's been doing it as long as he has. And his accomplishments and the skill level, we all know, Mickelson's fucking shit, and to see that there was like, oh, this is cool. It was definitely reinforcing that I actually know what I am doing. It was pretty cool. One question I was asked too, have you ever used a spoon before for sculpting or any kind of shaping?
I have not.
Get yourself a
No.
spoon with a round handle.
Okay.
It makes great concaved, convex shapes, like if you want to do like an open mouth or something like that, like the roof of the mouth, or to draw a glass down, like actually drag it out of the glass to make like a bottom lip, like all kind of stuff. You can get
Yeah.
like these little curvy little ends to it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
helpful.
we'll try that.
Yeah, it's definitely recommended.
Nice.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
hell yeah. So before we let you go here, and if you can hang on after I say my goodbye, the outro here, I'll say goodbye to you off the air here. But yeah, so before we let you go, if you want to give us some parting pieces of advice, and then where we can find you out there in the world of cyberspace, especially now that you're back on social media.
Yeah, definitely. Gosh, my advice would be if you want to make it, if you want to be successful, then try and be authentically you. Don't try and do it. Ask yourself, like, am I trying to do this for approval? Am I trying to get people's attention? Because I feel like the best work and the work that speaks to me the most is when I see authenticity. When I see someone that's just like loving what they're doing, and that speaks to me. And so authenticity in your work, it shows. You can't fake that. And another thing is, don't be afraid. Fear, you are your own limitation, and fear held me back for so long, and in the minute that I allowed myself to be freed from it, that's when all this amazing things happen. So don't be afraid to make what you really want to make. And yeah, some things are going to get messed up, and things are going to break, and things are going to not work out, and it's going to be really freaking frustrating. But don't be afraid to keep moving forward and making what you want to make.
Hell yeah. Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then where can we find you in cyberspace, and also the your upcoming show as well?
Yeah, so I'm not very into technology, so I maybe post on Instagram once or twice a month, and that's but where I mainly do my postings. If you hit me up, I'm so sorry. I love you. I'm so sorry I'm not good at responding. It's kind of like, if you're shy in life, you're kind of shy online too, and that's how I am. I'm just a shy person, and I'm sorry, and I love you, and I hear you. And I will do my best to respond. But yeah, Instagram is a good spot to kind of just see. That's where I post all my latest work. I also have a website. I'm working on a new one, so that should be ready by the time my show comes out. And also, I'm having a solo show called Elements of a Warrior in Ashland, Oregon, and it's also going to be the grand opening of the Walton Art House, my family's art gallery. So I'd love to see you all there, and it'll be the largest collective display of my career's worth of work. So it's a pretty big moment for me, and so I'm very, very excited about it, and also what the future holds.
Hell yeah. Super pumped for you.
Mm-hmm.
Super pumped.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, again, thanks for coming on. It's been an honor, and I appreciate you being open and talking about, personal issues and past and present and where you are now. And congrats again on the family and the baby and all that good stuff. It's definitely a blessing to have one more thing to teach you patience in life.
Yeah, for sure. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hell yeah. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed this chit chat here with Lacey, and definitely look her up on the Instagrams and stuff. I'll have all the links in the show notes for you, including where you can find her in the show. And again, until next time, I appreciate y'all listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Wise Guy Radio Show. Y'all be good. Love you. See ya. Peace. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by The Flow magazine. Since its inception, the focus of The Flow has been to provide a bond among members of the lampworking community. In every issue, you can enjoy great content with the hottest artists and cutting-edge techniques using the latest industry products. These features, along with the continuation of our Women in Glass edition, Glasscraft Emerging Artist Awards, inspiring gallery showcases, dynamic general interest articles, as well as health and safety information, make The Flow the leading international lampworking journal. For more information or to subscribe to The Flow, go to theflowmagazine.com. That's theflowmagazine.com.